Hi there. This is a quick review and comparison of the Sympl version 2 commuter pack in the 840D Ballistic Nylon. And this is not going to be an in-depth review like you'd see from folks like Aaron at Nomads Nation or Danny Packs. I think those guys are great at what they do, and I am not interested in trying to repeat that. Instead, what I'm going to show you today is a comparison to a couple other bags, as well as some of the features and quirks that I haven't seen in those other videos. Okay, so what I'll start by saying is that this is not a small bag. It's advertised as 20 liters, and on the website it says that it has a depth of 6 inches. And that sounds great, but the reality is that when it's loaded up, even with a pretty light load, which you'll see is what I have in here right now, its depth is a little bit more like 9 inches. So if I turn it sideways and try to put the measuring tape next to it, not sure how well that'll show up on camera, but it's about 9 inches deep. And that's a lot more than what I expected. And it's a lot more than anybody on YouTube has talked about so far. So now you know. And I'll show you what I have in it so that you can have context for where that 9 inches of depth is coming from, above and beyond the 6 inches that this bag is advertised as being. So in the laptop compartment, I actually don't even have a laptop in here right now. And for me, normally I travel with a work-provided computer that's like a thicker Lenovo ThinkPad. I don't have the luxury of being able to work with a thinner MacBook Air or something like that, so that's going to add even more depth. If you're in a situation like that, bear in mind that it's going to add some depth. In the front, I have only a few things. I've got a name tag from a work event that I don't really want to show off, so we'll just put that over here. I have a battery bank. I've got a little selfie stick tripod. I've got a collapsible hat, pair of sunglasses, and that's it. In the front tech compartment, I've got a passport, flashlight, the case for the microphone that I'm using right now, and then up here in the small pockets I've got my AirPods, some little things like some mints, cough thing, and like a ginger chew. And over here I've got some hand sanitizer, toothpicks, and a wet wipe. So a lot of kind of sanitation or hygiene things in those little pockets. Behind that, in this felt pocket, I've got my regular reading glasses. And the thing with these soft pockets is if you are someone that wears glasses, you can't realistically put your sunglasses and your reading glasses in there, right? Because although the pocket is soft, they're going to be bumping into each other and scratching each other up. So you kind of got to choose how you want to use this space. By the way, I also brought this out. It wasn't in my bag right now, but when I have longer trips, I like to bring a Nintendo Switch with me because I have a long layover or something, and I just don't want to get too bored. This can be stuffed into this felt pocket with its controllers attached, but you really have to force it. And it seems like in not too long, you'll do some damage to the bag and to your Nintendo Switch. So I would say if you really want to travel with it that way, put that in there and put the controllers in one of these front pockets, and then you're all good. Anyway, enough said about that. Where the bulk of the volume is coming from for me is in the main compartment. I have just a lunchbox and like a pullover. So this lunchbox, for context, right, it's maybe 4.5 inches deep, if that. And it's, again, I don't really think of this as overpacking this bag. But even so, when you have this in here, again, without even a laptop in there, you're still having like 9 inches of volume on this axis. And that's just not really what I expected. So again, I really wanted to emphasize that point for anyone that's considering this bag and that currently thinks you're going to get kind of a narrower, more compact 6-inch bag. That isn't what this is when it's loaded out. By the way, in the water bottle pocket, I don't have anything in there right now. Okay, so that's thing one to know. The other thing to know is that this water bottle pocket is really, really loose. It basically doesn't have any elasticity to it. So in here I just have like this collapsible clamp water bottle, but I'll get a couple other ones to show just for context of how you really can't rely on this for anything other than when the bag is upright and relatively stationary. So hold on a second. Okay, now I personally don't have any really, really big water bottles. I actually prefer to travel with a pretty small water bottle and then just refill it because the travel that I do, I tend to have access to water fountains pretty frequently. So I'll just show you how this all compares though. This little bottle is the one that I most frequently travel with, so I get this is smaller than what most people use. Even so, we'll start here and give you the context. When that's in there, it's just floating in there. See what I mean? And if you zip this up, it's not like you could just make it tighter by zipping this up and then stuffing the water bottle in. You know, obviously if the bag isn't loaded, you can kind of do something like this. But that's not ideal. And again, I kind of it wants to pinch out as you go. So, you know, some more common bottles for context, right? A lot of people have this coffee tumbler from Contigo, and here's how it fits. Again, still just loosely floating in this space. There's no grip or anything. I would not feel confident actually walking around with a water bottle in there. Another example is this bottle from Nalgene. Kind of the same story, super loose fit. And here's a Camelback water bottle. Once again, these all have kind of the same diameter or similar diameter, so the issue is going to be the same. Obviously, all of these could go in the inside water bottle pocket, but that's not the point. The point is a lot of us want to have an external water bottle pocket, and I think a lot of us want it to be a little bit more secure than that. So if that's important to you, know that as far as having a secure spot to put your drink, this is not something to be relied upon. Feels honestly like kind of an afterthought that that could have been done better, seemingly pretty easily. Okay, that is that. And now what I want to do is I'm going to take this same gear and stick it in a couple other bags just so you can see how other ones expand with all this gear loaded in. So I know this is probably not, probably not all that informative for a lot of people that don't have these same bags, but maybe they're bags you're familiar with, okay? So let's start by talking about this. This is the Air City Pack in X-Pac. And this is advertised as a 14-liter bag, whereas the Sympl bag is advertised as a 20-liter bag. First of all, yes, obviously you do feel the difference in volume. Secondly, this is a 14-liter bag made in X-Pac, whereas this is 840D Ballistic Nylon. The Sympl bag is advertised at a weight of 3.2 pounds. This Air City Pack in X-Pac is advertised as 2.5 pounds. You do feel the difference. You might think, 3.1 versus 2.5. How different can they really be? They're different. And then, frankly, the Air back padding, I find considerably more comfortable. So with that said, let's load this up just so we can visually see how it compares to what we saw with the Sympl bag. All right, so we've got everything in there, and if we lay that flat and measure it, fully loaded out with the back straps kind of taking up some space. Let's move those. Actually, I don't remember if I had the back straps underneath the Sympl bag when I measured it, but anyway, this bag, loaded as it is under 7 inches deep. I'll turn it around so the camera can see, maybe. It's like 6 3/4 or just shy of 7. So again, obviously it's a lesser volume than the Sympl bag. But for me, I can fit everything that I need into this bag. And just the depth difference of 2 or more inches between this bag and the Sympl was kind of surprising. Now, there are some key differences in terms of usability, right? So with the Air bag, one thing you notice right away is that the ease of access to all of your tech stuff isn't as nice as the experience with the Sympl bag. With the Sympl bag, you have everything localized to the top section and it accordions out. Having said that, it is a tighter fit on the Sympl bag than I expected, because as you load that up and then try to close it, all of that stuff smushes together. And it's just not a relaxed feeling, I would say. However, the other thing to note is on the Air bag, you have this top quick access pocket, right? And in here, it's where I put my glasses. And as you've seen in other reviews, I'm certain, it's this like soft, spongy microfiber stuff, which feels really nice to touch. But again, you're not going to put multiple pairs of glasses in there. And what's more is that that pocket does need to consume volume. And what that means is that when you're trying to load stuff into the main section, that top quick access pocket, where really you can only put 1 pair of glasses if that's what you're going to do, is blocking your access to everything in here. And being that this is only a 3/4 open bag versus a clamshell, it's really tight and constricted to try and get anything in and out of here. In fact, what you might have noticed as I was loading this up was that the first thing I did was stuff the lunchbox inside, because I knew that once I had other stuff in here, it was going to be really, really difficult to get this in. Okay, so again, very different bags, but perhaps this is useful context. And then I'll show you one more bag, and that's the Peak Design Everyday bag, the 30-liter version, which is obviously the biggest of the 3. But I'm going to use it just to illustrate the fact that a bag like the Peak Design, although it's bigger, although it's heavier, coming in at around 3.8 pounds, as you load it up, it's not going to change its shape or anything like that. And again, that's just something to think about as you manage your expectations if you're trying to choose between just what kind of bag you might want to get for travel or everyday carry. As I do this, I'll also mention that there is a usability feature with the Sympl bag that goes well above and beyond what you get with the Air City Pack. And that's to do with the luggage pass-through. This is a horizontal pass-through, but access to everything, whether it's in your tech pockets, whether it's in your quick access pocket up here, it becomes really difficult when this is on your roller bag sideways. And what I typically do is like open this and try to like reach in without anything falling out. It's not great. With the Sympl bag, it's vertically oriented on your luggage. Access to everything is vertically oriented. It is much, much easier than this or the Peak Design bag for getting at whatever you want to get at if you're on the go at the airport. Okay, so here's the Peak Design 30-liter bag. And again, this thing, when it's not packed out, its depth is whatever that reads. So if I see for myself, I would read that as about 8 inches. And if you're not familiar with this bag, all I will say is that it is the sort of pinnacle of organization if you like to have a spot for every little thing. And so, we can start by slotting in the lunchbox. And just for the sake of this video, I've positioned the shelves inside to hold that nicely in there, but those are Velcro. You can put them at whatever height you want. Next thing I can do is take the laptop, the passport, and put it in its own dedicated little passport slot. Hide that away. I can take this pullover and pack it, in here. This is not at all organized very efficiently, but let's not worry about that. I keep the hat in there as well. Now, for all of the little items, I tuck all of that away into these side pockets. So I'll stick the glasses in here. I'll stick flashlight, AirPods. I forgot to take the snacks out of the other bag. I'll grab those in a second. The power bank can live down here. The sunglasses will go in another spot. We can do this, flip it over, and do the same in the other side. Right, so maybe we've got the tripod that goes in there. We've got the microphone case here, and you know, the glasses we could put in a couple spots, but I'll show you what I tend to do. I tend to put the glasses in this pouch up here, right? So Peak Design's version of a little quick access thing, right? And those tucked down there, and they're actually fairly safe there, I feel like. And then if I had a laptop, it would just go in that slot. This section is also plenty big enough if you wanted to put a Nintendo Switch with its handles or controllers. You can pop that in there, and it's easy access. So why don't we leave that in there? We'll put the glasses on top. With this guy, as we've got it loaded out, its geometry is basically the same as before we packed it out. So once again, if we stick this on the table, that's sitting around a little under 8 inches. Okay, now what that means, all said and done, is if your goal is to have a relatively sleek bag, relatively compact bag that fits all your stuff, again, the Sympl Studios, the 20-liter Sympl Commuter Pack V2 really isn't it. And I don't mean to disparage the company or the bag or anything, because I think it's a very nice thing, and I was very excited to buy this. But again, I think the reality of what it can hold and the geometry that it takes once it's loaded out with like even a modest load is surprising, and can be a lot thicker and kind of, I don't know, uncomfortable for your overall balance, I would say, than you might expect. And in fact, if you want something that feels more compact, you might actually be better off with a 30-liter Peak Design bag versus this. So that's it. I think that's everything that I wanted to share that wasn't covered in other videos. And by the way, on the Peak Design bag, these are big pockets, and yet they're still a lot more secure than on the Sympl bag. There's just much better elasticity, right? And I know with that bag, I shook it around and turned it upside down and everything. So there is a way to design stronger pockets, basically is what I'm saying. And I just feel like Sympl kind of missed the mark on that. So be aware. That's all. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped.